Okay, today we are going to go over writing advice that is wildly contradictory and yet somehow all of it is true. A big one is if you want to write novels, just write novels. Don't write poetry or songs or short stories, just stick with writing novels. This makes sense because of the old advice, practice like you play. If that's really what you want to do and that's all you want to do, it makes sense to not bother with other formats of writing because that's not what you want to learn how to do anyway. Another very common piece of writing advice is if you want to write novels, start by writing short stories. Exact opposite advice, but the logic behind it is very sound because you have all the same elements of a novel, but very compact. So you're still doing character arcs, you're still doing a plot and subplots, and you're still hitting all the same points, but because the turnover is so much quicker and the process is so much faster, you get feedback that much faster, and you learn more lessons on the same topic faster and faster, and you learn more lessons and get more experience in a way in a shorter amount of time. Have a set routine. This is something that is preached by so many writers. Rowling, Stephen King, they all say the same thing, that you should have a routine where you have your morning set up. Dan Brown says this as well, where you start your day, you and then you have your sequence of events and you go sit and write. And you sit at the same spot at the same time every time, and you don't break that routine, and you train your brain when to just spit out creativity. And this works. This is a huge part of what got my first book written. And yet, these same authors that say that are also ones that break up their routine every once in a while, and they'll go to cafes or hotels, they'll go on walks, and because they break up their routine and because they're in a new environment, it stimulates different ideas, and the writing happens that way. They're both true. Somehow. Another common piece of writing advice is stick to one story. Just write one story at a time. Again, this is something I did for Blood Fiercely Defended that worked great. I just worked on that novel for the entire length of it. I stuck to it and got it done, and then when it was done, I started dabbling with other story ideas. There are also writers like Cornelia Funke, who I believe she said she's writing anywhere from 3 to 5 or even 6 books at a time, and that's how she always writes. And she has multiple international bestsellers. So, and Stephen King, I believe, writes one story at a time, beginning to end, then moves on to the next. And he has one of the most successful writing careers of all time. Something else that's really preached is write first thing in the morning. Wake up, if you have to eat and have breakfast, do that, and then sit down, do your writing first thing in the morning before you can get distracted by anything. It's your number one priority. It should be the number one thing you do every day. And that's great advice, and that's also something that I did for most of Blood Fiercely Defended. Wake up, gym, shower, food, write. And then that was my day until I was done writing for the day, and then I would go on and do other things. And that's great advice. There's also advice that if you have big items on your to-do list, if there are things you have to get done and they're nagging it in your brain, get those things done so that you don't have to think about it and you're not worried about getting those things done, and then go write. So that way when you're writing, you're not distracted about the other things you have to do that day. What? So the point with all of these is that writing advice is so subjective. There's no one thing that is going to work for everything you write for your entire life. you're not going to find something that's magical that when you do it and keep doing it, you will, without fail, produce words. Every writer experiences times when they aren't as productive as they would like, as they're not as productive as they have been in the past. And you have to just trial and error what works for you. I've written in complete silence and that has worked great. There were other times where I write with music so loud I can barely hear myself think, and yet this scene just spewed out of me. That was one of my greatest nights. Writing with coffee, writing with no drinks at all, being my third drink in, sometimes 4, 5, what? Oh, that's good. It just depends on you in that moment, what you're writing, and what the environment and what tool you are using at the time is going to provide for you. It's going to flux and change. You are going to flux and change. Your writing is going to flux and change. So be open to whatever might work for you that day, and realize that if something's not working for you, that's fine. It is okay to change things up. It's okay to force yourself to stick to something for a certain amount of time, not forever, because if it's not working after 6 months, it's probably not going to work. Thank you for watching. Let me know what writing advice you have heard that contradicts itself and yet somehow still makes sense, or has worked for you or hasn't worked for you. Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Likes, comments, subscribes are always wildly appreciated, and I will see you on the next step of our journey. Bye, and stay safe.